All right, take two. I'm back. 1986 Ford F-150 300 inline six. Request for vacuum line mapping off of the old Carter YFA single barrel carburetor, California compliant. Um, really, it's not a bad carburetor, but well, it is just nothing more than a controlled fuel leak. But these things are incredibly hard to stay tuned. So, vacuum lines coming off of this thing. We've got one here that loops around to the other side to this right here. We got another one that comes up to this Y split. One side goes up into this. This is part of the evaporative emissions. This runs down to this one-way valve right here. This runs all the way down here. See, here's the battery tray. Now, bear in mind this fender is completely crushed in from the wreck, so I can't get down in here. But it leads all the way down to a charcoal box or charcoal canister that is supposed to be mounted right there, and it is still mounted there. It's just, well, again, metal does crunchy things. Okay, coming off from here is another T-split. This runs all the way back underneath and up here to this T-block, little solenoid looking thing, and then that runs right into the PCV valve. Okay, PCV valve runs all the way up here into this base plate just underneath the carburetor, which also contains your brains having not so brainy things going on. This whatchamahickey. Okay, brain suddenly just stopped working altogether. I know what it is. Brain's just not doing brain things. Anyway, yeah, this thing. Okay. So vacuum tree also has a line. It's disconnected, but this generally goes to this here, which is the air cleaner. Air cleaner has two lines. That one that was disconnected. This one, which goes to this valve. Yep, there's air filter doing, not doing air filter things, but goes into this thing, which is part of the heat collector, which runs down to just down over here by the exhaust manifold to collect heat, help keep things warm. Anyway, moving right along. So vacuum tree has got also this large vacuum line here off of the end that runs all the way over to brake booster. So that's got to do brake booster things. It's got another vacuum line underneath here, which runs all the way up to this T block, which runs to this thingy here on the fender. And then the other side of that runs all the way over to a whole collaboration of those right there. Those are vacuum modulator valves that are mounted on the back of this engine. It's on a little bracket back there where that wire loom is. And that's got a whole bunch of vacuum lines that come right across the front, across the top of this engine. and runs down into all of this conglomeration that is, well, I can't make hide nor hair of it nor sense of it, because I haven't been too concerned about that, because whenever I have to do engine tune-up things to, well, this engine, it's mostly on the other side where the spark plugs and the distributor and all that other fun stuff is. I generally don't have to worry too much about the manifold side of the engine, because, well, everything on this side of the engine tends to do what it does best. So you got lines coming off from back over there that run all the way up to the whatchamahickey, and then not sure what that is. Anyway, try to figure out the rest of this conglomeration, but a lot of it does come back over here to this vacuum tree. And that one comes off of that T. That one determined. That one determined. That one determined. That one runs elsewhere. That one came from the breather. This port here is blocked off. It doesn't go to the carburetor. Don't know what it goes to. All I know is when I first bought the truck and started driving it, I would get it running for maybe about 15-20 minutes. Then the engine would seem like it was starving for fuel and completely choke out, and I couldn't get it rerunning again until, well, it had cooled down and no, it wasn't overheating. Determined that it had a massive vacuum leak from this port right here. Didn't have anything hooked up to it. I tried putting a vacuum cap on it. The vacuum cap actually just kept getting blown off of it. So I decided to say, screw it. I JB welded a bolt into a section of vacuum line, and then went ahead and clamped the other end of the vacuum line onto that vacuum port, and the engine has remained running ever since. And yes, you're probably looking at this wire going, well, that goes up to the choke, so this has got a wire. It's set up for electric. Well, there's no place under this hood to plug this into. So no, I don't have an electronic choke. This is just what came on the carburetor when I got it. But it does use a thermo choke, utilizing heat off the exhaust manifold. Anyway, so this line here runs all the way down to the top of the exhaust manifold, where it picks up heat and opens up the choke. So that's how that works. And then, of course, obviously, you got your fuel line, you got your, I already explained the evaporative system. And no, this truck does not have a return line. All right, I know somebody is going to wind up telling me, oh, that's just a fuel return line. I mean, because you've got your fuel inlet and that's fuel return. This does not have a return line. Okay, this is a non-return system. This is a venting system for the evaporative missions. I am going to attempt to squeeze back without killing myself. Bear with me here. Too much stuff in here. Say hello to Mr. Fuel Tank, which lacks a sending unit in it. But this is the fuel tank. It's a 16-gallon saddle. And I can't remember, because I did not take this tank out while it was in here for Snake. Anyway, the sending unit on this, aside from being completely, well, and utterly obsolete, oh, that's always a lovely sound. I've probably got some rust in that. It's okay, I'm replacing that tank anyway. Put a newer, better tank. Anyway, I don't see anything in there. I guess while I'm back over here, we're past all this other crap. Compressors. axles, trimmers, suspension equipment. Ugh. Okay. Whew. That was a struggle and a half. Anyway, here we can see the vacuum modulator system. So if you look down there at the bottom, you can see all those vacuum lines coming off from that, and then there's that electronic setup up there. I have no idea exactly what that is or what it does. All I know is it's equipped to the engine. It's important for the engine. It makes the engine do, well, noisy things. So all of that right there. All right. I have not done any modifications to this. No work whatsoever. All right. There's Mr. Distributor, and of course all the sparkulators. So there's the lightning distribution system, along with the lightning hoses and all the sparkulators, and there's the zap me if I'm not careful thingy, commonly known as a curl. Some people call it a coil, but I call it a curl. And then of course there's the steery pumpy thingy, and there's the stop right now, and if I'm old enough and worn out enough, fingers crossed and pray that I may stop eventually, pressy thingy, along with the Boostulator 5000 that hit or miss whether it works or not, and this one does in fact actually work, which is good. So yeah, that's literally everything on this side of the engine. Everything else is literally on the other side of the engine. So let's make our way back that way. Almost looks like the roof is leaking. Yes, that's a ZFS 542 transmission that is torn apart, and that's a brake rotor. And oh, hey, guess what I just found? So that's the sending unit for this fuel tank. That is, in fact, the sending unit for this fuel tank. Please make note that there is the pickup, but there's no return. So now you know this truck does not have a return fuel system. Ugh. Ugh. I really need to go through, clean this out. These bicycles need to be the first things to go. Caught up on them. All right. Okay, back to the engine at hand. All right, so let's see. So we covered all of the vacuum lines coming here off of the PCV. There's only two vacuum lines going into the carburetor. There's one right here at the base, which, again, as a reminder, comes around to this T-block. This comes around into this evaporative ventilation system, which runs all the way down to the charcoal canister. The other side of this runs all the way back to that block system right there. Now remember, this is California compliant, so this has got all of this. Okay, how much of the bull crap does it have? All of it. Okay. So personally, if I had it my way, I would bring this back to, say, a federal emissions, which uses a Carter YF carburetor, which I do have one of those. If you want to see that, I've got it on my workbench at home in my garage. I will be more than happy to be able to show you the differences between the California compliant and the federal compliant Carter YF carburetors. So just put that into the comment section down below if you want to see that. So I do have that. What I don't have is another one of these engines sitting at home with all the bullshit on it. Okay, so the old smogulator pump. There was another question that was brought up whether this goes into a valve system. On this particular setup, I am not 100% sure, and trust me, I would love to be able to point it out on this. Now, trying to get set up to where you can see this. So, right where the doohickey this thingamabobbit is on this same plate, and anyway, there's a split off underneath here that comes out, runs into this large tube here, which passes behind the smog. This, let me see if I can get underneath this truck. Oh God. Just not a whole lot of space. And as you can tell, this corner of the truck is literally being held up by, yeah. Okay, that is a AC compressor and power steering pump bracket for my 1989 F-250. But all right. Time to see if I can do squeezy things. Get up underneath here. Okay, so there's the starter motor. There's cable, and this tube here. Okay, so right here is the end of the AIR tube. This would generally have another segment that would come down, run along the exhaust and go. You're not going to be able to see it, but this truck does not have its catalytic converter or muffler on it. Okay, so that's the AIR tube there. There should be up there just below the smog pump somewhere. And like I said, the front passenger fender is caved in. It's crunched in. There's certain things I cannot get to without actually starting to disassemble the body panels on this truck. But underneath that smog pump should be a junction valve or a junction diversion valve, one of which runs to the whatchamahickey up there just below the carburetor. But both should ultimately wind up going also between the charcoal box and then all the way back here to the catalytic converter, so that unburned fuel gets burned anyway. Hey, there's a transfer case for old Floyd, my other 89 F250. All right, I gotta figure out how to. Okay, getting in here was the easy part. Getting out's the hard part. Okay, I've got more truck parts jabbing me in the side of the head. Okay, so going underneath the truck didn't really show much of anything. Sad to say. Okay, let's see if I can get up off the floor. Oh, that would explain why I had such a hard time getting out. I had a mini lanch fall over on top of me. All right, let's see if we can get around to a conclusion of the sorts. Oh. Okay, let's see. No, fender cap and frame rail are in the way. In fact, there's the charcoal box right there. Right down in there. So, just below and ahead of that should be a diversion valve that goes from that doohickey, the charcoal box, and the smog pump. So, I'm hoping that helps you out, answers your question. That's the battery cable. That would be the negative battery cable. So hopefully that'll help you out and get it to where you can finally get your rig together. If you need anything else, as far as the way this engine is set up, with all of its California BS, leave a comment down in the section. I generally only ever get to come over to the truck on the weekends, either Saturdays or Sundays. So that's when I'm able to actually produce these videos. But hope this helps you out. Hope you found this information useful and being able to help you put things back together the way it's supposed to be, get things up and running. Anything else you would need, leave a comment down in the section, and I will attempt as best as I can to get that information out in video format, because if you've got questions about it, there's going to be other people that are going to have questions about it. And it's easier to put that information out if you just do a video on it, because then you're educating a lot more people with one video than a whole bunch of messages down in a chat box. So it starts with one question. That question leads to a video. That video leads to information being passed to the masses. And with that said, if you like the content, don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to share it with your friends. And most importantly, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell notification so that you know when I put out new content. Right now, it's January. We still got February and March before things really start to warm up around here. And when it does, I have got a ton more content from the rigs at home. I'm going to be introducing a 1996 Jeep Grand Cherokee. That's my wife's, and it is turning out to be quite the project. And then, of course, I've also got a few things going on with the old 89 F250, Extendo cab, commonly known as Big Green. And I might even throw in some updates about Old Floyd, which is my other 89 F250 single cab. So keep an eye out for a lot more of that content. In the meantime, as usual, I'm Dr. Frankentruck, and I'll see you next time on the operating table.